Well, hi everybody, it's John Elzinga, and welcome back to It's a Great Day to Serve the Lord. And the topic today of our devotional is simply this: to understand and be understood. To understand and be understood. To be human, it means that we have a desire to understand others and to be understood by others. And yet so many feel that they're not understood, and that so many people don't understand them. And conversely, we don't take the time to understand others. For many years, I taught leadership, specifically servant leadership. And one of the principles that I taught is simply this: to see people with your heart. See people with your heart. In fact, as a matter of fact, I have created a wristband that says exactly that: see people with your heart. If you got that wristband, go to johnelzinga.com. But to see people with your heart actually is a precursor to servant leadership. You can't serve somebody unless you see them with your heart, unless you look inside their life. As you walk in their shoes, you understand what they're going through, who they are, where they come from, what they're all about, what their desires are. That's what it means to see people with your heart, rather than to judge them, with a mind of condemnation or anything like that. To be understood is to, let me use this word, is to be known, acknowledged, appreciated. Henry David Thoreau is known for that famous line that the mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation. And there's two ways to take that, meaning they live lonely lives. They don't know how to express themselves, how to share what they're going through. They don't know how to share their feelings. Conversely, they don't think anybody understands them. This idea that came a few years ago, this "I see you" phrase that came up. It's exactly that. To see you is to understand you, is to know you. But so many people live life in the shadows, longing to be seen, to be understood, and to be known. And why is that? It's because God created us to be in community. When we are connected, we are known. When we are in community, we are known. When we are known, we are more able to be heard and then understood. A long time ago, I went through a divorce. And I was hurt, I was broken, and the counselor that I was going to get some therapy for this advised that I connect up with a church, a local church, that had not only a large attendance of singles, but they had what they called a divorce recovery program. And there I went, not knowing anybody at the time, and they divide you up into tables, into little groups. I think there were 6 or 8 people at our table, as I recall. And one by one, we go around the table and telling each person their story. And as I heard one person's story, then another person's story, I began to identify with them. I heard them and I understood them. I could identify because in many different ways, we were going through the same thing. We all experienced that brokenness. And so we heard each other and we understood each other. In fact, Romans 12:15 says, "Rejoice with those who rejoice, and mourn with those who mourn." Understand them, hear them. 1 Peter 3:8 says, "Finally, all of you be like-minded, be sympathetic, love one another, be compassionate and humble." Folks, we desperately need each other. But even more important than that, there is the most wonderful, incomparable knowledge of someone who knows you and understands you 100% of the time. It is God Himself, our Creator, our Father, the Sovereign Lord of all. Because of that, here's a few things I want you to understand. First, don't you ever think that if you are in the shadows, that you are significant amongst this billions of people on planet Earth, because God knows you by name. Exodus 33:17 And it says, and God and Moses are talking, and the Lord said to Moses, "This very thing that you have spoken, I will do, for you have found favor in my sight, and I know you by name." Imagine that. Of the billions and billions and billions of people, God, our Creator, knows us by name. And that's not an insignificant thing. It's not just John or whatever your name is, or Mary or Sue or Dan. It's not just a name. Because at that time specifically, the name identified who you were. The name gave you insight into who you were. The name helped you understand who this person is. God understands and knows who you are, as distinct from other people, and that you are just as significant as anyone else to Him. To God, you are significant. Our name singles us out. It identifies who we are. And let me imagine it this way. Back to your childhood years. You're at recess, and you're going to play some kind of sport, some kind of game, and typically, divide up into teams, and there's a captain, and the captain picks out their team one by one. There's this captain, then this captain, this captain, and what they typically do is first you pick out the most athletic and the most popular, the most known star or winner, and so on goes down the line until reluctantly they have to pick the ones that are remaining. God knows and calls each person as the first pick in the lineup. To God, you are that significant. Second, God not only knows your name, He knows your thoughts. Psalm 139 verse 2 says, "You know when I sit and when I rise, you perceive my thoughts from afar." Yes, friend, God understands you. He knows what's going on in your inner life. Many people, most people, have a different inner life than their outer life. They keep things hidden. They stuff things inside. They don't explain what they're thinking or what they're feeling, what they're going through. They don't communicate that. Many don't want to let it out, what's really going on inside. But God does. He knows what you're struggling with. He knows what you're thinking about. He knows what your desires are. People think no one understands them. God understands you. He knows how you feel. The hurt, the struggle, the insecurity, and yes, the quiet, the desperation, as Thoreau said. Jesus came for that very reason. Hebrews 4:15 says, "For we do not have a high priest who is unable to empathize with our weaknesses, but we have one who has been tempted in every way, just as we are, yet He did not sin." Jesus came, God came in human flesh. He came in human flesh in the form of Jesus Christ. And as He lived His life on this earth in human flesh, He understood man. He understood what they were going through. He cared about what they were going through. He could identify what we were going through. And as a consequence, we can identify with Him. Imagine, friend, writing a journal or a diary, noting what you're struggling with or what your feelings are. God reads your journal and knows your diary. Third, God knows you're a sinner and still loves you. He knows your sin and He still died for you. You may think, well, if God knows me, He'll want nothing to do with me. Or if He knows me, He knows I'm a sinner and I'm toast. Romans 5:8 says, "But God demonstrates His own love for us in that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us." My friend, God loves you with a deeper love than you can ever experience in an earthly relationship, because His love is and was sacrificial. Finally, God knows every detail of your life. Matthew 10:30 says, but even the hairs of your head are numbered. And to some people that might be scary. But God knows every detail of your life. There's nothing unseen. He's thoroughly acquainted with who you are. He knows every part of you. He knows about every hair. He knows about every pimple. He knows about every smile and every frown. He knows every laugh that you exhibit and all the times that you're in tears. He knows your desires and your failures, your strengths and your weaknesses, your ups and your downs, your past, present, and future. In fact, He knows and cares for every goal, every desire, every action. He carries out His individual plan in that for you. Proverbs 16:9 says, "The heart of man plans his ways, but the Lord establishes his steps." In other words, in some version would say, God orders and plans your steps. He understands and knows you that deeply. And so, my friend, to wrap this up, understand two things. God made us to care for and understand each other. And so please, don't live in the shadows. Don't be disconnected, but be connected to others, and especially to the body of believers at your local church. And secondly, God knows you even more than you know yourself. Feel and sense God's presence in your life. That's your devotional for today. And if you have supported this channel, thank you very much. If you'd like to support it, just send me an email at john@johnelzinga.com. I'll send you back a link in which you can send a donation. Well, God bless you, and remember, it's a great day to serve the Lord.